Hi, everybody. This is the December 21st, 2023 meeting of the Needham Conservation Commission. I'm Dave Harrer, Commission Chair. Before we get started, I'm going to confirm that all members and staff are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond. Sue? Not here yet. Reed?
Present.
Fred's not here. Peter?
Here.
Allison? Yes, I see you.
Oh,
Can't hear you.
in here?
Yep, okay, and Paulina?
Here.
Okay. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healy's March 2023 extension of the open meeting law of temporary provisions. All supporting materials have been provided to the members of the commission and are available on the Conservation Commission website. Before we go to the first item on the agenda, let's cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each hearing on the agenda and then introduce the applicant or their consultant to begin the project presentation. After conclusion of the applicant's presentation, I will call on each commission member to provide their comments or questions. Please hold until your name is called. After comments and questions from the commission members, I will solicit questions and comments from the staff and then from the public. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer if you're not speaking. Also, please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. And finally, every vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, first item on the agenda is the minutes of the meeting, which were circulated. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes? This was for our last meeting, December 7th.
I believe Sue forwarded just a couple clerical edits, but nothing of substance to the material.
Okay, great. Whoever's doing the minutes, I think it's they're very well done. I think hopefully we're going to get caught up one of these days. Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the Needham Conservation Commission for Thursday, December 7th, 2023?
A motion to accept.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
All right, let's vote. Sue? Oh, she's not here yet. Reed?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Paulina?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay, next item on the agenda is enforcement or violation updates. Clay, do you have anything?
Nothing for this meeting.
Okay. So then let's open the hearing for 131 Oxbow Road. This is a request for determination of applicability. And we have who to speak for this applicant? The consultant?
Yep, my name is Dave Marquidant. The screen says Joe, but it's
Yeah.
really Dave Marquidant from JD Marquidant out of Hopkinton. Ben Hayworth and Kelly are the applicant. They're also on the line. We're here, as you mentioned, for an RDA at 131 Oxbow. Oxbow is off of Central Ave. It's a 4-acre parcel of land bounded on the north by Oxbow Road, on the west by the town of Needham, and on the south by the Charles River. We have a wetland series. Clay, do you have sheet number 1? Is it possible to bring up sheet number 1, please?
Just a moment.
Perfect. So about halfway down the lot on the south, we have a wetland series, BVW, flagged by Northeast Ecological out of Upton, Mass. The wetland starts, if you will, if you look at it from the street, about halfway back on the lot. Kind of, there we go, and then heads down along there all the way down towards the Charles River. And then it goes westerly, right up through there, all the way to Flag. And then we have a bank location, perennial stream right there on the town of Needham. It goes all the way south, all the way to Charles River. And then it goes easterly along the bank of the Charles River. So we've indicated that first line from the bank is the inner and outer riparian zone. Here's our inner. And our outer goes right through the tennis court, down and around, all the way to there. We also have 2 flood zones for the property. The first flood zone is down by the Charles River, controlled by elevation 107. And then right where Clay is there, the finger is an auxiliary flood, elevation 109. So we're seeking to remove the existing home. The existing home is 83 feet off the wetland currently. And we have a shed that's 63 feet off the wetland. We have a pool that's in the buffer. And most of that area to the south of the existing house and pool is existing lawn. All the way down and around, almost right up to the wetland edge is lawn and some trees. So we're seeking to take down the existing home and then move that home from 83 feet to 93 feet off the wetland and 98 feet off the wetland. So just a little bit of that buffer zone, the southern end of the house. Perfect. A little ear, 2 little ears of the home right there, and right there is in the buffer zone. Right, we have a little hot tub and a little bit of the patio for the new fire pit. So we're removing the pool, the shed, and the home out of the buffer zone and moving it back to 93 feet, and minimizing our impervious inside the buffer zone. Where outside, our limit of work is kind of that heavy poly line right around the tennis court area. You can kind of see, there we go. That's our limit of work and our erosion control. Our limit of work is 51 and 52 off the wetland. So we're outside the 50-foot buffer. We're outside the outer riparian zone, and we're outside all of the flood zones. So we're looking to remove 3 trees. The 3 trees, 2 of them are right up against the edge of the house on the southern side of the existing house, right next to the retaining wall, right there. There's 2 there. And then the third one is a little bit north of that, closer to the buffer zone. Right there, we have a 12-inch apple. We're replacing those trees with 3 trees closer to the limit of work. 3 sugars and 3 green ash is what we're proposing. In that area from the limit of work going north towards the new home is all going to be restored with lawn and just sort of make a gentle slope from the new home to the limit of work. We've also had done some testing. We have a drainage design in front of engineering as we speak, and we've proposed 2 drain units, one in the front yard. All of the front roof is going to be contained to the front left of the new home outside the buffer. The units are outside the buffer, and the back of the home is going to be to the right rear of the garage, also outside the buffer. Over by the tennis court, where it says lot 27, we have a potential stockpile area that's outside the buffer zone. And you can see that we've extended our erosion control much further out of the limit of the 100-foot buffer to contain all that stockpile area enclosed. That's kind of a general overview is what we're here for this evening.
Okay, great. I think you did a comprehensive job on your submittal. Let's go to the commissioners for any comments or questions. Sue, do you have any questions? Or I guess she never showed up? Okay, sorry about that. Reed?
So just to confirm, this is a request for determination of applicability. I guess I'm not sure why this wouldn't be subject to our jurisdiction.
Well, I think it is subject to our jurisdiction. It's a question of whether the small amount of the project that is within the 100-foot buffer zone is really going to have any impact. And we can decide whether we want them to submit a notice of intent more formally, or that they presented enough information and we can conclude that the impact might be minimal and that notice of intent is not necessary. So I think that's within our judgment.
I think as well, some of the conversations we had when this was kind of in the development stages were that the work being done within buffer zone is where existing structures currently are, and they're essentially pulling them back. So it can be seen, if you see it that way, as a net improvement. It's taking an existing house and rebuilding it further away from the wetland and returning that to pervious, landscaped areas. I think some of the other sheets may demonstrate a little bit more clearly what's existing. For example, this is the existing house, the existing pool, and the existing shed. And then the new structure, this one's fairly busy as well, but you can see the new structure is back here. So this existing portion of the footprint is being removed. And here's that 100-foot buffer zone line out here, as well as the shed and the pools being relocated, and primarily the existing pools being relocated outside. There we go.
Yeah, good, thanks. Peter, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, this strikes me as a lot of work, to be honest, because there's going to be tree removal and tree planting, and then grading, and then even though everything's being moved back, there's a significant amount of disruption associated with taking things down. So I wonder if this really is a case where we can just let them, if we give them a negative determination of applicability, that just sort of says, well, go ahead and do it, and we're not going to check on it in the future. I don't know. I mean, it seems more complicated than the typical RDAs that we see.
Yeah, let me ask the applicant, is there in fact going to be grading within the 100-foot buffer zone area?
Yes, right below that hot tub is contour 115, and we're bringing it down to 110. So that slope is those contour intervals are they're 5 to 1, 8 to 1, 8 to 1, and 10 to 1. So it's we think it's manageable. And we don't expect any issues with grading. If the board has concerns, I might recommend that we, do an occasional visit and just monitor the situation as we develop it. We're not planning on starting till early spring. So, we're going to, our approach is to, once we have things graded the way they're supposed to be, we're going to immediately apply lumen seed and hopefully capture some of that as best we can, depending on the season for summer. Capture some growing season and then finalize things and update things in the fall.
All right, do you have any more questions, Peter?
No, that's good. Thank you.
All right, Allison?
I tend to agree with Peter that even though this is an improvement, which it is, there is a lot of disturbance. And if you just have an RDA, then there isn't any way to have monitoring, is there, or conditions? That's a question, Clay and Debbie. Did you hear me?
Yeah, as far as monitoring under an RDA, there's no closeout. You don't get the as-built condition you would get with an order of conditions. However, there's nothing necessarily to prevent us from going out and making sure that there's not a violation. I mean, if it's laid out in the RDA that their limit of work has to be that, one of the contingencies to the RDA is that they need to, you can condition that they need erosion controls in order to meet
Yeah.
the terms of the RDA, and that can be inspected by staff. Certainly, we can request them to stay in contact with us, but we could also make regular visits out there to make sure that there hasn't been overreach, and that would be a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act. It would have its own recourse, in my opinion, outside of the mechanism of the RDA.
Yeah, so with that answer, my inclination, just mine, is that it should have a notice of intent, because there is a lot of grading. And trees are coming down. And that's, I just have that feeling that even though it's more work, you have to come back. You do have the time to do that. It's not gonna happen until the spring. And one other really, a piece of advice, it's not a direction, but if you do want to do the sugar maples, you should consider Green Mountain, because it's much more tolerant of heat and drought, which a regular sugar is not, and they're all dying everywhere and have been for about 30 years. And the green ash is not, I love it, but it is not a tree to plant. It gets terrible. Fungal diseases have been dying again for 30 years all over the country. So I would try to look for a different tree, and that's a little more tolerant. Let's say it doesn't get the diseases, and maybe more tolerant of heat and drought, like an oak or something like that.
Okay,
It's just a suggestion. It is not a direction. As a landscape architect.
thank you.
Sure, welcome.
All
Is it-
right, Paulina, do you have any questions?
How many trees are coming down again?
Three
3.
trees.
Can you point them out to me again? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Saw-
There's two trees right to the bottom of where the AC pads are, adjacent to the retaining wall.
Mhm.
Those are right now currently sitting up against the existing home. And then we're looking to take out an apple tree that's up closer to the recharge units, very near the buffer zone, and it's a 12-inch apple. So, and then we're proposing the 6 down below.
Or any of these, which of these trees are in our buffer zone?
Well, all 3 of those are in your buffer zone.
Okay,
Okay, and then we're also saving a couple trees in the middle of that slope. There's a Japanese maple and another 14-inch tree that we're gonna build a tree well for to save. So we're cutting 3, adding 6, and saving 2.
I personally think this would be fine as an RDA. I know they're doing a lot of grading, but if you put a condition that says, you know, install erosion controls, make sure they are the limit of work and have conservation staff inspect them prior to any start of work and have like a pre-construction meeting just so everyone's on board. I guess I don't see it as the site's going to go out of control just because this is going to be somebody's dwelling. So they're going to make it look nice and clean it up. And even with NOIs, staff doesn't always go out there and look at every single project. They just look at it after the fact when a COC comes in. So I'm okay with this being an RDA, as long as it has certain conditions attached to them. And maybe one of them would also be, you know, to have a proof from nursery being submitted to conservation that they have obtained certain trees and then notified conservation, so conservation can go out there and either Clay or Debbie can inspect to make sure they're installed as proposed. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, I looked at the drawings, I looked at the drainage calculations, and you know, I concluded that it's all very well done. I believe that the drawings don't really indicate the extent of the grading unless you're like an engineer and you can look at two drawings at once. There wasn't really a like a grading plan that showed how the existing grading was going to be modified. But you know, I'm kind of mixed. I believe that we probably could have some oversight on this as an RDA, but you know, I think some of the other commissioners are leaning the other direction. I see that Sue just came on board, so I'll ask Sue if she has any questions.
Yeah, I've been here. I had trouble getting in. Sorry. I do have a question. Well, I just want to make a comment that I tend towards Peter and Allison, that I think it is too complicated for an RDA, that it should be an NOI. I don't think I remember an RDA in the past as complicated as this. I think it's kind of a classification of an NOI.
Okay. How about Clay and Deb? Do you have any comments?
This is Clay's review, so I'll leave it to him.
Yeah, I guess my comments are pretty much generally what's been covered. We had the original discussions with the applicant and the consultant. They were discussing, you know, building a new house that was essentially in the same footprint, but reduced. Our discussions were about which jurisdictions they would be in. They had the wetlands flagged, the borderland subject to flooding mapped out, and the riverfront areas also included and verified. And primarily all the work that's being done is within landscaped lawn area. So I think our general recommendation to pursue as an RDA was based on the idea that it was already previously developed or disturbed areas, and that there's a significant total reduction in footprint in impervious surfaces, and all work and disturbances is being done more than 50 feet from the wetland boundary, that everything is outside the 50-foot buffer zone. I think we also took a little bit of the precedent from another project, and I don't remember the address, but I think last year we saw a project where they were essentially taking a house that was in buffer zone and pretty much demolishing it. They were going to build a new house entirely outside of buffer zone, but the level of disturbance, I think, was similar enough that it wasn't a large concern from the staff perspective on kind of what the construction phasing and what the final site conditions would be when you finally have that net improvement. So that's I guess where our guidance was, you know, leading this as best as we can. Obviously, we also tend to state that you know, that it's up to the commission. So we had discussion through the process, and it is to your however you feel.
Okay, is there anybody in the public audience that has their hands raised?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, so I guess at this point, we could entertain a motion to issue an RDA, or I guess if the applicant wanted to, withdraw and issue and submit a request for submit an NOI, that would be okay too.
Yes, so I think just a comment on procedure. You would be issuing the determination, I think, either way, unless the applicant chose to withdraw, but it would either be a negative or it'd be a positive, and the positive would trigger the need for the further notice of intent.
Positive. I'm not sure I got what you just.
Okay.
It would be a-
Positive means that positive just means that they're gonna need to file a notice of intent. A negative determination means that we approve the project and they can proceed with the work.
Okay,
So it's kind of the opposite of what you would think.
so can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of the applicability for 131 Oxbow Road?
I motion to issue a negative determination.
Second? No second? I'll second. Is there any further discussion?
So if they're not approving it, then you have to issue a positive.
Can we go for a site visit?
You can continue the hearing and do a site visit if you want. So you
I'm
really-
personally okay with issuing a negative determination, but
Right,
if
yeah.
other people are not, then we can discuss that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got the motion backwards. Can we withdraw the motion and start again? Who's our rules expert?
I think you could withdraw the motion now that you've got a motion in a second. You could also, go through the motion of voting, and assuming that there's not enough to pass the motion, you could create a second motion to issue the positive.
All right.
I was curious whether anybody had any additional thoughts about it after Clay's summary of his estimation and his guidance to us. And I was wondering if anybody had any thoughts on what was described as the ability to monitor and or visit after the fact in association with an RDA. I didn't know that held any sway with the center.
I think everybody's kind of put forth their opinion, so, either we continue it or we vote. All right, so, just to go beyond my confusion here, let's just frame it like, let's vote on whether to issue the negative determination. And then we'll go from there. Is that okay?
Good.
All right, so somebody want to make a motion to issue a negative determination for 131 Oxbow Road.
I motion to issue a negative determination.
All right, do we have a second? I'll second it. So no further discussion, let's vote. Sue?
Nay.
All right, Reed?
Nay.
Peter?
Yay.
Allison?
Okay.
Paulina?
Yay. I'm not sure what the opposite would be.
Yeah, all right,
Aye.
yeah,
I,
vote aye.
sorry.
I vote aye, but it's what, 4-2? So, it looks like we're gonna be asking you to submit a notice of intent.
So you need to
Okay,
issue a positive determination.
Yeah, so the first motion failed. My recommendation would be to entertain a motion to issue a positive determination of applicability.
All right, this is getting confusing, but I got you. Okay, so can I have a motion to issue a positive determination of applicability for 131 Oxbow Road?
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's vote. Sue,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Helena,
Nay.
and the chair votes aye. So, I guess, the next step would be, for you to submit a notice of intent. I think you got all the paperwork done for that, except for a couple forms, so it shouldn't be that much more effort on your part.
okay. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, quick question, would that be eligible for the next meeting?
Yeah, I guess
Like
if you gotta get
January
it in
11th?
by so many days ahead of the meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I believe between now and the 11th, we have 3 weeks. So if we can get all the materials in by next Thursday, I should be able to post legal notice in the paper again and get that going. So I
Thank
can
you so much.
follow up with you again tomorrow and we can work towards that.
Appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. The next item on the agenda is 124 Edgewater Drive, DEP file 234-901, request for amended order of conditions. And who do we have to present there?
John Rockwood from Ecotech.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Yeah, seeing as that we've already approved this project, and you're asking for an amendment, I think in your presentation, if you could focus on what's changed and, kind of refresh everybody's memory about the project, that would be most helpful.
Okay, absolutely. Can I share my screen?
Sure.
And can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, this is in the package, I provided the approved plan and the amended plan so that the commission could look at both. And the narrative that I provided explained what was approved and how the project's changed. Basically, the first project, which was approved in June of this year, the applicant was proposing to keep part of the foundation and build a new house over that existing foundation with a slightly expanded foundation. Since then, they've decided to abandon that foundation, which allowed them to move the house further away from the river and away from the wetlands. And it also allowed the grading to be adjusted such that we did not have to grade within bordering land subject to flooding. And we also reduced the amount of grading within the riverfront area. The original plan included work in 1,700 square feet of land subject to flooding and provided an additional 631 square feet of cubic feet of flood storage and proposed work within 1,300 square feet of the riverfront area. The amended plan would eliminate the work within the land subject to flooding, and there'd be a limited amount of grading within the riverfront area in this portion of the site here. So I can go through this darker blue line is the wetland boundary. This line here is the 50-foot buffer. There's a vernal pool offsite over here. So this purple line is 100 feet off of that presumed vernal pool. The red line is the riverfront area. The green line is the floodplain, and this blue line is the buffer zone. So basically, the house, except for a very small portion here and a portion of the driveway, has been pulled outside of even the buffer zone. So there's a limited amount of grading in the riverfront area. There's patios in the buffer zone, but generally a patio that's located more than 50 feet away and further from the river is an exempt activity under the act, and I believe under your bylaw anyways. We're proposing a more robust stormwater system which addresses the driveway and the roof and the patio. We're proposing to remove 2 additional trees in the buffer zone over in this location to basically allow for the driveway to be constructed. It's an end load garage at this point, so it needs an area to get cars in and out of that. That's basically a summary, and what we're proposing, there's 2 additional trees being removed, so we're proposing to add 4 additional saplings. We originally proposed to remove 10 trees, now it's 12 trees, so we're going from 20 saplings of a wide variety of species to increase the diversity on the site to 24 saplings. We're also proposing, there's a section of the lawn that's delineated as wetland. We're proposing to overseed that and go to a once annual mowing of that area just to keep invasives out of it. So it'd be mowed in October annually, just to keep the invasives out of it. So that's what was proposed as mitigation. So again, the project's been moved back. There's significantly less grading. And we're proposing a more robust stormwater system, and we're proposing additional sapling plantings to address the removal of 2 additional trees in the buffer zone. And one other note, there's 5 trees that are proposed to remove that are outside of the limit of work. Those will just be, they're probably gonna have to use a crane to do these anyways, or a bucket truck. And basically the trees will be cut flush, they'll be ground, the areas will be loamed, brought back to the grade since it's in the floodplain, and just seeded as lawn. So it's a pretty minimal, pretty rapid activity outside of the erosion control. And all that work is outside of the 50. The 50 is here. The 5 trees are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them is a fairly small cherry. The other ones are pines that are overgrown by English ivy and other vines. So that's sort of a summary of the changes.
Okay, thanks, John. Let's go to the commissioners for any questions. Sue?
No comment right now. No comment.
Reed?
Yeah, you're proposing to remove a number of trees here, and now you're proposing to remove 2 more. I guess I'm just not sure why all these trees need to be removed. And especially now that it's further away from the bank, it seems like some of those trees that we originally proposed to be removed don't need to be removed anymore.
There's still hazards associated with those trees. These are very large pines with defects and forks. There was an arborist report that explained particularly these trees in this area. Tree 1, 2, 3, 4, and tree 6 and 7. There's vines around all the trees. The trees are compromised. They're shallow rooted. And also a couple of the trees are forked. And there's some, the trees are somewhat compromised, being, they're large, tall pines. And large, tall pines at a certain point in time tend to snap off and fall to the ground.
So what are the 2 additional trees? Are they pines?
There's 1 pine and there's a smaller oak. It's like an 8-inch diameter oak over here. And I think it's let me blow that up so I can see it. I think it's a 21-inch pine. And those are right at the edge of a retaining wall associated with the driveway.
Okay, thanks.
So you're saying that all the trees that are back there that you propose to remove have been certified by an arborist as need to be removed?
There was a,
Mhm.
there was a report included in the initial notice of intent that detailed the conditions of the trees. And it was the arborist's opinion that those trees be removed, yes.
And are there, I guess, I don't know, I mean, I feel like if we're agreeing to let you remove more trees, like, are there any other trees anywhere you could save elsewhere? That, yeah, it seems like you're removing a lot of trees from the site.
Yeah, basically, here's the river here. It's forested from the river pretty much up to this point. So this is all wooded here. This is all existing lawn, and then there's just scattered trees around the existing house. So there's a significant portion of the lot here that's all wooded. And we're proposing to plant additional saplings in, you know, to basically get an understory going under some of the larger trees here, which in the course of the next 20 or so years are going to fail and fall. We're trying to augment and make the forest in this portion of the site more diverse and more sustainable.
I don't know if it's appropriate to come off mute and share, but we had two fairly large pines come down this past Monday in our neighborhood, which was just pretty scary. And it was the tops of one of our pines, and a neighbor's entire pine from the root system went down. So they're just older pines.
All right, Reed, do you have any other?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess, yeah, nothing else at this time. I'd like to hear what other people have to say.
Okay, Peter?
Yeah, I do remember the discussion we had before, and I remember, you know, feeling conflicted about it at the time, but I think ultimately we were persuaded that given the condition of these trees and the depth of the soil and that sort of thing, that this was reasonable, and then the mitigation was actually something that would help the situation. I don't really have any other comments.
Okay, Allison, anything?
No, I don't have any comments, and I do like your plant list, I must say.
Been doing this a while.
You know you have, and the wetland seed and all that. That's nice. It's good.
Thank
All
you.
right. Polina?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, the chair doesn't have any questions. I think looks good. I think, you know, we're all concerned about trees, but you know, it's hard for us to say that you know, a tree that's deemed a hazard tree can't be dealt with. So I think that you're following our guidelines as far as you know, new saplings. I think that's great. So if there's no further comment,
Actually, I did have,
anybody else?
This is Andrew Marr. I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time. This week was a very, very scary week for everyone in Needham and in the Edgewater community. So I appreciate everyone's understanding and having the conversation here.
Yeah. Any comments from the staff? Clay or Deb? No? Anybody in the audience?
There is one hand raised in the audience.
Okay.
Hello, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Hi.
Okay, my question is about wildlife and nature and about trees. Trees uh, Mother Nature's habitats and nature, and it involves all of us when we need soil and water to live and breathe. And trees, when people cut down trees, that harms Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is always good to be protective, and it could also remind my mom when she passed away in February that she had 3 wonderful kids, and she had 3 wonderful jobs, and she was a hard-working mom, and we are all blessed by my mom that she always have a good smile on each of us eyes and lips, and we couldn't believe she's not here during Christmas time. And that is sad for me and my brother who is in Sacramento, California. And I I think my brother always by his wife Tatiana, who just had a baby. Her name is Tiago. He's 4 months old, and Tatiana wouldn't let me hold the baby, but it is also nice that I play basketball. And yesterday I went to a Christmas party, and I had a I got a soccer ball like as a nice Christmas present. And
That's
I'm
great.
so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, we're sorry to hear about your mother.
Mhm.
But I hope you have a nice Christmas.
Thank you. I wish he was alive to I could give her like what she needs and a lot of help.
Right. All right. So if there's no other comments from the public, can I have a motion to?
Dave, I just had, or sorry, I had one more question. For Deb and Clay, do the new trees that are being planted, do those need to comply with our updated tree policy? And do they?
They all do, yes.
Yeah, they're a minimum 2-inch, right, John?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted to double check that. Thank you.
All right. So can I have a motion to issue an amended order of conditions for 124 Edgewater Drive, DEP file 234-901?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. Let's have a vote. Sue,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Paulina? Paulina? You there?
Hi. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
and the chair votes aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, great, good luck.
When it's ready, Deb, can you let us know when the applicant will come and pick it up?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, Merry Christmas.
You too.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Or happy holidays.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, that concludes the hearings. So next item on the agenda is Walker Pond informal discussion of upcoming projects. This would be who, Walker Pond would be Justin or somebody from Beta Group who is going to make the presentation.
Just an FYI before that, sorry to interrupt.
Alright.
So all the electricity in PSAB went out when I disappeared.
Oh, no.
Are you here, Justin?
Yeah, same here. Everything just shut off, so
It was very freaky.
go
So I don't
back.
know if it'll happen again, but that's
Yeah.
where I went.
Yep, same here. Sorry about that. Justin Saviano, Assistant Town Engineer. We have Melissa and Courtney here from Beta we're going to do a review of the work we're proposing over at Walker Pond.
Yes. Thank you, Justin. Melissa Ricos with Beta Group, as he said, Courtney Botello on the line, our engineer on the project. Also on the call, I have Tyler Drew, who's our biologist and working on our permitting team for this project. Clay, I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind. I just have a couple pictures and things. I think that'll help. We can. Okay. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, did hit the share button. Okay,
There we go.
there we go. Okay. So Walker Pond, our purpose tonight was to come in front of you. Thank you for this opportunity to catch you all up on where we're at on the project. We've been working on Walker Pond. We were in front of you in the spring for an RDA to do some sediment sampling for data collection. This project, I have 5 steps listed up here on the screen. So I wanted to let you know where we're at and give you an overview of the plan that we are putting together to submit for notice of intent at the end of February. Also to get any comments or concerns you may have on our proposed plan so that we can consider them as we kind of finalize it for the notice of intent. I believe it was shared with you prior to this meeting. So our data collection is complete. We've been doing structural evaluation and design on the outlet control structure. And we've also been looking at the data that we've collected for the pond management itself. Walker Pond, as most of you probably are oriented with the site. The pond here has 2 basins. It's on Charles River Street. It's also bordered by Walker Lane and then Central Ave. The outlet control structure to Walker Pond is at Central Ave. This is where water leaves the pond, goes into a pipe, and then eventually makes its way to the Charles River. It's fed by a stream that comes in under Charles River Street right here at this inlet point number 3. And there's 2 other inlets to the pond, 1 and 2, that carry drainage from Walker Lane. You may remember that we were in front of this commission to put in a BMP to provide infiltration for the stormwater that comes off of Walker Lane. So that stormwater is now being treated before it is discharged from these outlets to the pond. I want to point out this outlet pipe number 1 or inlet to the pond. This particular inlet will be part of the project that we're talking about today and that we'll be looking to permit. A section of this pipe, it's not supported fully, so it leans into the water, and the town has had issues with the structural integrity of that pipe. So as part of this project, we're going to propose to build a head wall to secure that pipe. The other place that we're doing structural work in the pond is for the outlet control structure itself, which has been failing for some time, has a temporary fix. And I'm going to show you a plan of that in a minute. I should also speak while I have this map up here of a couple other projects. As you know, Walker Pond has a big watershed to it, and the town has been working for quite a few years to implement projects in the watershed to try and address the nutrients to the ponds, and they're continuing to do this. We're also working with the town to design a BMP to treat stormwater that's coming off of the playing field here. So that's something that we're actively working with the town on another project to continue this process of really working on the external loads as we also go through the process of looking at the internal loading of the pond. The outlet control structure is a big piece of this project. We've gone back and forth with the DPW and the engineering department to tweak this concept quite a few times. So what the DPW is looking for is a structure that they can maintain in a safe way. Also that they can have a little more flexibility in how they use it and how they clean it. The previous structure was one cast in place chamber, and the water would come in and go out of pipe. It was very dangerous for the DPW. Nobody wanted to go in there. It wasn't safe. So what we've done with this structure is we've put a second chamber in the back so that they can have a manhole access to get in here and clean out. They have a lot of, obviously you would expect a lot of weeds coming from the pond, sticks and debris builds up and causes blockages that they need to clean. They would also like to get access with a TV camera. A couple other improvements to that outlet control structure that we've been working on in this concept design is having a weir control wheel, and instead of having stop logs in the structure, being able to have somebody come out here and just be able to turn the wheel and be able to manipulate the weir height if the town decided at some point in time that that would be beneficial for water quality or maintenance, or they would need to do that in some way. Of course, that would be secured, so it could only be modified by town staff. And there's also a railing that the structure will have around it for safety. Currently, the structure doesn't have any type of railing around it. Another component to the outlet control structure that we've been working with the town on, and that you'll see in the application, is to increase the size of the outlet pipe from this structure and put a new structure in Central Ave. Currently, there's no downstream structure for the town to be able to access this pipe and do any maintenance work. Also, there has been historic issues with some flooding downstream in that Oxbow neighborhood. The 42-inch pipe that currently leaves the pond is a little undersized for the storms that we're having these days and future storms. So what it really would like to be is a 48-inch pipe. So as part of this project, while we are doing the excavation and upgrades to the structure itself, we'd like to increase the size of that pipe to 48 inches with a new structure in the street. And then the town could also have the ability in the future to provide a relief pipe from that structure if they choose to pursue that in the future and provide some alleviate some flooding issues. I guess I'll continue on unless anyone has a specific question about the outlet control structure at this time, or you can raise questions later. So this is the structural component of the project. I guess I should also mention that as far as constructability goes, we've looked at the recommendation from our structural engineer is to do sheeting. This is a deep excavation, So what we would propose is that the contractor do sheeting around the structure, the existing structure, contain that and use the sheeting as a water control device. They would be able to pump that dry. They could excavate and remove the existing structure, do the demo within the limits of the sheeting to really control that work. And then they could build the new structure also within that sheeting area. As far as the in-water survey and data collection findings and recommendations, Water and Wetland was a sub-consultant that we used. They're professionals in pond management. They did an aquatic assessment memo. They looked at the vegetation that they found in the pond, and we included their assessment memo as appendix to our report. We've also provided treatment alternatives analysis. That's appendix C of our report. It goes through many different types of treatment alternatives for the different issues that we found going on in the pond. So the first thing is nutrients. We did, identify that phosphorus levels are high in the water and in the sediment. So nutrients are an issue, and those we would recommend to be addressed through phosphorus filters at the inlets, and also addressing those external loading through BMPs the town's already working on outside of this project. The other issue that the pond has and that the data shows is very low dissolved oxygen, to a point that it's really not healthy for fish right now at all. It's below recommended levels, as it was a few years ago when ESS did their study as well. It's continued to stay extremely low. So in order to address that, the recommendations are the vegetation removal, which will help address dissolved oxygen. And then once that's taken care of, potentially installing some mechanical aeration in the pond to increase oxygen levels. The third issue is the survey did show a couple types of invasive vegetation in the pond. They were not extensive. They were in isolated areas. So hand pulling should be able to take care of these at this point in time. The two that were found were water chestnut and purple loosestrife. Water chestnut is something that was newly introduced since the previous study that was done by ESS. The fourth issue that is very obvious, even to the eye in the pond, is the nuisance density of the native vegetation. So there's a lot of vegetation there that is just more dense than it should be, and it's causing these problems of nutrients and dissolved oxygen. So the recommendation by Water and Wetland was to apply Sonar, which is fluoridone. It's an herbicide that gets applied to the water, and you maintain the concentration of the herbicide for a 1 to 2 month period, and it basically allows sunlight not to penetrate the plants, and so they end up dying off. The intention here is to get those nuisance densities down to a manageable level with 1 season of treatment with Sonar, and then after that, be able to manage with some spot treatments of contact herbicides. So taking this data, these finding and recommendations, what we're proposing in the 5-year plan is this timeline. Again, this is in the draft plan, but it lays it out in that year 1, the first year of the plan, which we would hope to be the spring of which would be 2024, starting in the spring to apply Sonar. Also the Utrosorb filters for phosphorus management at the inlets, and to replace the outlet control structure, as well as add that head wall to the inlet pipe. So our structural work would be done. After that, under the annual management box here, our plan would involve monitoring and invasive species management to continue for all years of the plan. It would also include water quality sampling and revisiting to see if what we did in the previous years was working. And then the spot treatment with herbicides to continue as on an as needed basis after water quality and surveys are done each year to confirm that they're needed or not. Year 2, like I said, would be the spot treatment with herbicides and looking at designs for aeration. So after year 1, if the vegetation management did not bring the DO levels up to where they ideally should be, then in year 2, we would look at designs for aeration, which would look like you would either put a hose, like a weighted hose that's hooked up to a motor on the shore, and it bubbles up water into the, or bubbles up air into the water of the pond, is one of the alternatives we were looking at for an aeration design. Again, year 3, you would continue to do the water quality sampling and the vegetation survey, evaluate how the weed controls were working, potentially install that aeration, and then evaluate if the phosphorus levels were acceptable in the pond. That may be all we need to do. If they're still elevated and need some management, then we might look at ways to address phosphorus load within the sediment. And then in years 4 and 5, we would be more evaluation and just, looking to see how things are going. This approach is very much taking the least invasive approach possible to start out and evaluating before doing something more intrusive. This plan and what we are proposing through the notice of intent would be asking for the commission to approve what we have presented here for years 1, 2, and 3, kind of this menu of options that we're presenting specifically for these 3 years, if that would be amenable to the commission. We're not proposing hydro raking, we're not proposing dredging, or any of those types of measures that would need additional analysis, initial data collection, in order to move forward with those. Those would have to come back if needed in the future for evaluation. So as I said, the couple things that, as we move on to the next phase in this project, the next steps, we're looking for any thoughts and considerations, questions that you have at this point in time, anything you'd like us to look for or present when we come back. We could take your questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Looks like you have a well thought out plan. We'll ask the commissioners if anybody has any comments or questions. Sue?
Yeah, I think that was excellent. I think it's really a complete plan. And I think we've always mentioned before that, one base issue is the working with the watershed load with the, the sediments coming from the fields and I guess it is a large watershed area, a fertilizer, at the homeowners. So I think that's a base prevention is from the watershed, controlling that. But I think that was an excellent presentation and it sounds very complete to me. It would be the first 3 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right, Reed, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just so the use of the sonar herbicide, so that is consistent with sort of the standard and kind of that is sort of what would be typical here for this sort of situation. It's, I just, I'm not, I don't have any information about this, so.
Yes, It is what Water and Wetland recommended, given, you know, the particular situation here in this pond and really the extent of the vegetation that it is. It would also be worth noting that downstream in the Charles River, they use sonar to treat some of the issues that they have with vegetation. So it is something that's used, you know, in the larger watershed. It is something that's used in Massachusetts. It's, you know, it's out there.
Thank you.
Hey, Peter, any comments?
No, I'm happy with the plan. Thank you.
Yeah, Allison?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. What is the average depth of the pond?
So the average depth, I would say, is 4 feet. It gets a little deeper than that and a little more shallow, but it's a shallow pond.
Very shallow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a big problem. You're really bucking something really difficult to deal with. You'll have to do it forever. And I think that this whole issue of watershed, I mean, when you're talking about, you know, anaerobic conditions, it's really, isn't it? Now, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert. But I did have a pond that it's decaying vegetation draws the oxygen out of the water. So the more vegetation you have, it's not phosphorus, it's the nitrogen that's pushing it. And the nitrogen is coming from the fertilizer, which is coming from the field and the lawns. And then why else is the plant growing so well? Because it's so shallow and the light gets all the way down to the bottom. You're going to be struggling with this forever. Forever. It will never be a clean pond without, you know, constant work. That's just something I'm going to tell you. It's just really difficult to do. And, you know, so you're doing it for 3 years, but you really will have to do it forever, given these conditions. If you don't change, unless you dredge and make it like 8 feet deep or something, or not 10 feet deep, and you stop all the nitrogen going into the pond, you know, that's applied nitrogen. I'm not talking about leaves falling in from the surrounding trees. I just don't see how you're ever going to stop. That's all I'm going to say. It's a very well thought out plan, but it's not really thinking about what is this pond. It wants to be a wetland over time. It doesn't want to be a pond. It doesn't have, it's not big enough. But that's just, this is just my, you know, the world changes and it evolves. And, you know, maybe 100 years ago, it was a cleaner, deeper pond. I don't, you know, without all the people putting nitrogen into it and filling it up with the detritus of all the, you know, the vegetation that grows and grows every year. So I'm not going to say any more. I don't want to take any more time, but, you know, this is kind of it's really a hard problem. People love these ponds. I live next to Farley Pond. I walk by it. It's lovely, but, you know, you're going to have to do this forever. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
I agree. I would just, I hope not to give the impression that it's only a 3-year plan. We're looking for we're looking for the first 3 years, those 3-year steps to be approved under this notice of intent, but the intention is, you know, it took a long time for the pond to get to this point. And it takes a lot of effort to get it back into balance. And there are some other alternatives, other measures that we looked at that are included in the alternatives analysis. There's enzymes and muck biotics and things like this that can be applied to try and take care of some of the accumulation. But we need, you know, we're looking at getting rid of a substantial amount of the vegetation as a first step so that we can
but the
make it worthwhile.
The anaerobic conditions will get worse as you do the sonar and you kill more vegetation. In the short term, the anaerobic will be worse. It'll be less oxygen, even, you know, so just so that, right?
Correct. We need to monitor for that, and the aeration is
Exactly.
very important for this pond. So
there's
no silver bullet.
On any of your plan, there's no nitrogen. It's all phosphorus, and that's a statewide thing. You know, I mean, I went to school in Wisconsin where all the beautiful lakes were with the farms went right up to the lakes and the ponds, and they all had the most horrible weed growth every single year, and it was disaster because of the nitrogen.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's not mentioned in your report. So I think it should be.
All right, Paulina, do you have any,
I
anything to
don't
say?
have any, I don't have any questions.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with Allison. There's hundreds of these ponds all over the place, and, you know, a lot of these ponds were probably, you know, formed by some embankment that was put in. I mean, they're really not natural ponds. They were probably just wetland areas, and you know, some are bigger than others. But you know, I would always ask the question, you know, what's the problem with just letting the area eutrify? You know, why do anything other than, you know, make whatever controls you need to make from a drainage and flood protection, you know, problem, or to resolve that. But I mean, I don't presume to tell the town, you know, how they want to handle this pond, but you know, I agree with Allison that it's always going to be mucked up with this stuff, no matter how much herbicides you put in, or a little aerator or whatever. I mean, we've seen these projects, you know, time and time again.
Mhm.
Is it a man-made pond or not?
It is a man-made pond.
Yeah.
It's a man-made pond.
When Central Ave was built, or Central Street there was a stream that left. There was a stream that went all the way through. So when the street was built, it was put in a culvert.
Yeah, I don't think there's a natural pond in Needham that there might be, but I can't think of any.
Mhm.
But anyway, I think you did a great job in your report, and hopefully our comments are helpful. And I guess if anybody else has further comments, you could send them to Clay or Deb, and they can get them back to you.
That'd be great.
When do you think you're going to submit your notice of intent?
So we'd like to submit the notice of intent for the hearing on February 22nd.
Okay.
So I know we need to submit that 2 weeks in advance. So if we could get any comments in, you know, mid-January, that would be great.
All right, great. Thanks for updating us.
I think that pond is very, very important to a lot of the Needham community.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their local pond. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't mean to imply we shouldn't do anything, but I think that's up to the town to put forth the plan, right?
Right.
Okay, so thanks, and we look forward to your notice of intent application.
Great. Thank you all. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you. That was great.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Now, is there some further discussion of DEP projects? DPW projects, sorry.
That was primarily it for this evening.
Okay. Good. Well, thanks, Justin. So the next item on the agenda is 671 Charles River Street, DEP file 234-483, request for a certificate of compliance. And
Hello.
Who is here to present that?
I'm Jeffrey Lerner. I am I'll say former resident at 671.
Okay.
We lived there for about 25 years, and we put in a hot tub and a patio about 17 years ago. And at that time, George Chernta, who did all the work for us, it coincided with his retirement, and somehow the paperwork didn't get filed appropriately. And in selling the home, we discovered this, and Clay has been very helpful in walking me through what had to happen. So with that, I'll let him explain the technical aspect of it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can give an overview here, and I'm just going to share the screen. This project site had two different kind of activities that happened in relatively short succession. I believe it was in between 2002 and 2005. The first thing they filed for was a proposed addition and deck onto an existing house, and at that time, the commission reviewed. There's a stream here. Pretty much, I believe it's associated with Sabrina Lake coming down. And there was some modifications that were kind of proposed, or I guess given back in order to do the additions. There was a conservation restriction that was approved, accepted, and this is all part of a closed out project just prior to the hot tub project. But they did install plantings. They acquired a conservation restriction around the ditch of the brook, and they modified their driveway to change runoff coming down the driveway so that it wasn't just immediately discharging into the stream. So that was closed out in 2005. 2006, they came back to propose a new patio and a hot tub, both outside the 25-foot. It was a much simpler project because they had the patio or the addition previously, because it was closer to the wetland. It came before as a notice of intent. As Jeffrey mentioned, it had been a while since this was conducted. So we did have him go back and hire the surveyors to come out. They provided the as-built plan, and they detailed the deviations. The review of those deviations essentially stated that the impervious surfaces, or the footprints of the patio and the hot tub pad, were reduced from what was proposed, and it was actually moved a little further back from the wetland edge than what was approved. There were some differences to the small 1.5-foot retaining wall. I believe on the original plan, it was essentially kind of encompassing back here, but the final had just a 1.5-foot kind of raised patio for the hot tub here. Aside from that, there were no major deviations. The minor deviations pulled it further from the wetland and reduced its size. There was no change to natural vegetation. It was all done within existing lawn area, so there was no tree removals, no new plantings. Upon review of this project, we did confirm that the required split rail fence around the conservation restriction are still in place. The plantings that were planted back in prior to 2005 are still kind of a wild, untouched area now. So they're still in compliance with the previous order. So at this time, staff would recommend issuance of a full certificate of compliance for the hot tub and patio portions.
All right, thanks, Clay. Any other commissioners have a comment? Raise your hand or.
No comment.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. Anybody? No?
Thank you.
Okay, so let's, could I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 671 Charles River Street, DEP file 234-483?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Sue?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Allison?
Aye.
Paulina?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Merry Christmas.
To you too. Take care. Happy holidays, everyone.
Okay, so we have anything else on the agenda?
No, I'm still in the process of drafting the Sabrina Lake, so
Okay,
we're gonna hold off on that to the next meeting. I did draft an exhibit B that I sent to you guys, for 124 Edgewater. It's just kind of an update of how the project changed with the amendment. The main thing was the additional tree removal. and the revisions eliminate the need for grading in the bordering land subject to flooding. So they no longer required compensatory flood storage. I didn't see the need for any additional special conditions beyond what we already had for the original order.
Okay, so do we need to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, we voted to issue it, so what would this vote be? You won't get me confused tonight.
So you voted, did you vote to close or did you vote to issue already?
I think we voted, I can't remember. I think we voted to issue. Maybe that was my mistake. We should have voted to close.
I didn't take.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, you should have voted to close and then you should vote to issue.
I didn't catch that, but they did vote to issue. That was the motion made, so.
All right, so we should, sorry about that.
I guess we're good to go. I mean,
It'll take me another year to get
You're doing a good job.
up to speed. All right. Can I have a motion to close the hearing for 124 Edgewater Drive, DEP file 234-901?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Sue,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Helena,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. So we already voted to issue it, so we have to do that again? Or-
Nah,
Okay, we'll take some liberties here. All right, so that's it. This is Peter's last meeting. I wanna
Peter.
wish him well. I just met Peter yesterday, for the first time, and, I was, really happy to be able to meet him before he left.
I
I mean, meet him in person. I mean, because we were out walking some of the trails, but, he said he would still be involved with the trails, so.
Yeah, I'm
maybe
not
we-
going anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm except at night. You won't see me at night, but
Well, I for one will miss you.
Yeah.
I'll miss all you guys.
Yeah, you've really been great. You've been knowledgeable and yeah, you will be sorely missed, but we wish you the best.
No, I wouldn't have left if I didn't trust this group to be a good
Carry
a
on.
good group. Carry on, yes, exactly. And I trust Dave. I think the group is under good leadership right now. Anyone step up yet to be vice?
I haven't
No,
seen anybody contact you, Deb, no?
no.
Maybe we're going to have to appoint somebody.
Right. And
Well,
Peter,
good.
I'll send you the template kind of to send to the select.
Perfect to
board,
make it official. So
and then
so
they
that
can start the process
and
of
then the
finding,
next person comes aboard. Got it. Thank you.
right.
If anybody has any suggestions for somebody to replace Peter, get that name to Deb and she'll pass it on to the select board. But I think it's important. I don't think we could ever find anybody with his background, but maybe.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Thank you, Peter, for all you've done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Come back
Keep in
and visit.
touch.
We'll be in touch. I'll be around. Thank you for thinking about me.
Yeah, well, we're gonna recruit all of you commissioners for trail work.
Nice.
Yeah,
We'll have a commissioners trail day.
There we go. We'll see you in the spring then, Peter.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're gonna be pulling you back in for educational programming, guest lecture on birdwatch. So
There we go.
That's right. When May comes around, you'll call me. Okay, sounds good.
Will do.
All right, well, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody, and
Thank you.
hope we don't have another rainstorm or windstorm.
We just got power last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Such a mess. Well, we've lost it twice since I've been sitting here.
I see.
What was I gonna say? So we will have, so they'll need to sign the amended order.
Okay.
Right?
and
So,
this CSD.
all right, so we'll send out an email when stuff is ready to sign.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Happy
right, good-
holidays.
Don't
Good
forget
night,
to
everybody.
Holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Peter.
holidays.
Bye.
Wait,
Visit
I
Peter.
move to,
Wait, we have
I'm,
to
Oh.
motion.
I move
Yeah.
to adjourn.
Woohoo.
No,
I second.
Hi.
everybody votes aye.
Hi.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks. Bye, Peter. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.